All right, sorry about that. The other recorder got full, so I don't really know where it shut off. So why don't you
Well, I was talking about the perspective that Carl Sagan gave to the human existence on this planet. And he talks about how in the last 200,000 years we began to evolve into what we are now, the modern Homo sapien. And then within that time period, only until the last 15,000 years or so, have we gotten to the point where we're beginning to move from the hunter gatherer society into a more permanent system. And I was thinking about what you said about Gore Vidal and death and not fearing it. And when you think about the fear of missing out was the Vidal thing. When you look at yourself as just part of something larger, you realize that in the overall scope of things, we've missed out on so much already. We've missed out on a lot as a species. We've missed out a lot on the history of humanity. And so our very finite time here on Earth, the 60, 70, 80 years we may have, is so small. It's such a small point in time. To fear death because of that seems absurd. It seems that you'd want to enjoy this moment within this time frame even more. And as far as fear of missing out, everything says you're going to anyway, you know?
Well, I thought you were going to mention something else from that
What?
series, something that really affected me. I think I'd already had the inkling of this idea, but he said if you stand beside a stream and you see the groups of bubbles come down the stream, if you sat here and watched long enough, you'd see the exact same pattern of bubbles come down. And he said, I look at life that way. The universe is born and it expands and matures and then it dies and it starts all over again and again and again and again forever and ever and ever. And within those various patterns of time's movement and space's movement, I exist and I'll be reborn at some, he said, it's a very slim sliver of hope or solace for your inevitable death, but it's something. You're part of the universe, and the universe isn't just now, it's the entire development of it from the beginning to the end.
I don't think it's the idea of being born back into
You're a,
recycling through. Rather, I think it goes to what he was talking about with regard to when I die, I'm going to return to stardust.
mm-hmm.
You're going to break down to your essential components. And eventually, that will all go into the great cosmic mix all over again.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that is about the only
That's about it
solace there
for
is.
eternity, you know? I mean,
And, well,
we break into our components. That's it.
that when you were saying like your life is such a small thing, see, to me, it's a balance. On the one hand, yeah, you're just a speck in the hugeness of the universe, but at
But
the same time, the universe is everything, and therefore, it can't exist without you. You're just as vital a component of the universe as the planet Jupiter.
oh, now we're getting into this discussion about philosophical perception
Well, no,
of self and our perception
it's
of
a
whether or
way
not the
of it's a
universe
way of giving
exists
your life
with
meaning
our
and value,
perceiving
your own
it.
existence.
Yeah, well, that's what it all boils down to. People think that somehow there's some great hidden meaning, or you only get meaning through religion. No, no, no. That you get meaning through yourself. You find out who you are and what means something to you, where you fit into this thing, and you derive your meaning from these things, your existence, your where you are within your little framework of time and your community.
Yeah, like I was saying, uh, that I'm coming up on 29 years. July 4th will be 29 years since I decided to become a painter. And when I did it, it just felt right, not just because of the choice, but also because I was putting something first. And I always said, all I'm doing is putting this thing first. I'm still doing the other stuff, but now I have a sense of priorities. This is the main thing, and I won't give it up. And when I did that, everything fell into line. And every time that I've started to waver or deviate, and it's like rededicate your life to Christ, people. Once I reemphasize, that's what I do. I'm a painter. Again, everything falls back into line. It's so simple. That's why religion works. It doesn't matter what goddamn religion you pick; it's going to work for you because you're giving your life some sense of structure, and meaning, and priority. That's why it's one of the reasons it's so seductive. Let me ask you something. I was 20 when I became an atheist. Now, how old were you?
I was somewhere around the age of 18 when I realized that I could not quantify. I couldn't put facts to the faith and faith to the facts. I realized that I had to have something. I got to that point where I realized it was that point where you leave high school, you're going to college, and I realized that it was, for me, a turning point. It's that little moment where you go, okay, I'm becoming an adult. And at that axis, I had to turn and say, okay, who am I going to be? Because I'm on my own. I've got my own transportation. I've got my own money. I've got my own freedom to do as I please. And I need to figure out what direction I'm heading into. So let's look back at the way I was brought up and where I want to go from here. And I started looking at my religious belief. And I realized I just did not have faith. That everything that had happened to me was down to emotional experiences. That there wasn't anything I could put paid to. It just was some sort of feeling. And I wanted something substantive that said, this is real. And the more I looked, the more I realized this is not real. I can't believe in this. There isn't any substance. There's no proof for God. I don't like the system that's been set up, because there are people who are in the church, in religion, who really don't believe anything. I think it was the actor Gabriel Byrne who decided that he wanted to be in religion, some kind of priesthood, etc. And then at some point he realized, I don't even have faith. And you get, some people get to that point where they realize, I'm just going through the motions. And I suspect there are a lot of people attending church and going to the services and attending the little programs with their families. But honestly, it's just tradition. It's some sort of societal need to belong, or it's what's expected. I decided that I wasn't going to go with what was expected. I did try the societal fitting in and finding little activities. I tried different types of religions and churches and such, and it just, none of it felt right. All of it felt disingenuous.
You told me once that your atheism was
It came
prompted.
about stages.
Well, okay, yeah, I see that now. But you told me once that when you got into college and started seeing in the science classes,
Yes.
all this contradictory information.
It isn't just the science. It was the culture. Realizing that there are people around the world that have different beliefs for different reasons. You get to see the commonalities, the basics that George Carlin laid out in his humor. At some point or another, someone decides you're going to eat over here, you're going to shit over there. There are rules. There are common sense rules. There are rules that keep people in line. Rules that add certain social niceties. Um, I realized that people believed and they were born into different beliefs, completely different from mine, and they had been brought up with the same fervor, thinking, oh, this is the one and the only, this is it, you know? And then you get exposed to the idea of something beyond monotheism, which becomes a gateway to understanding how people developed religion in response to specific events, a god of thunder, a god of transformation, that sort of thing, a god of war, a god of peace, a god of the afterlife, the underworld. And once you begin to see that people have all these different ideas, then what you believe suddenly doesn't become as solid. And I think that's why people fear the outsider, xenophobia. They don't want people to bring in these new ideas and upset the apple cart.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they want to impose their own thing on everybody, and if somebody's just in the way, with something that's diametrically opposed of a different camp. Oh me. So I'm trying to think what else we gotta do. Okay, I got all this shit to do. I'm gonna make these videos as well. Part 1 and part 2. I don't know when I'm gonna get around to it.
It can wait.
Yeah, but
What's the joy of the night?
when am I gonna do the other things? We can do the scanning. We can listen to music while I do the scanning.
It's still technically Friday night. I mean, sure, we're into the Saturday AM hours.
It's early Saturday morning.
Very early Saturday morning.
Yeah, and
We can take some time. It's all right. We really don't have to go anywhere except for that one thing. And you're going to have to be completely okay to drive before that happens. And honestly, I was thinking about encouraging Peter to go out and treat himself to something like Taco Stand, in which case he can go pick up the flagpoles.
yeah.
Look, he's had a really hard week at work.
I'm sorry about that, but he is 27 years old.
Well, the last 3 days he's worked over 10 hours a day, and he's tired, and his legs are achy, and he's got a job where
his generation are soft. They don't know what it really feels like.
He's on his feet 10 hours a day.
Yeah, well, when I was 23, I was digging ditches, so I know all about pain and suffering.
Standing around listening to preachers talk about this, that, and the other, and women, and drink.
I can bring that story up real briefly before we cut this off. Are we going to cut this off soon?
I guess so.
All right. I was working at the post office one of many times before. This is before Bonnie and I met, about 2 years before. And I was working the night shift, and I hated it, and my drinking was just getting totally out of control. And everybody at the post office knew that I would come in drunk every night, but they never would say anything because my dad was a postal supervisor. Or no, at that point he might have been the postman. I can't remember. But anyway. So one night I came in so goddamn bombed, and I decided I can't live like this anymore. I've got to do something. So I forgot. Before all this happened, I had decided the way out of my troubles, the way to get my shit together, was to join the Navy. And so the guy, they started giving me all this running around about, well, you've had surgery in the past, you've had these, this has happened to you, need more documentation for this and this and this, and they drug it out. So anyway, finally that one night when I came in so drunk, I just I have got to get the fuck out of here. And besides, I'm joining the Navy soon anyway, so who cares? So I quit in the middle of the night at the post office and left this note saying, I can't do this anymore, sorry, I got to go. So my parents were away on vacation while I did this. When they came back, they were furious. But anyway, the Navy recruitment guy was in this. The recruitment office was in this building with other offices, other businesses. And he said, I know the guy who runs the temp agency down the hall. I can get you a job through them, because it looks like it's going to be a little while longer before we can get you into the Navy. So one of the various assignments these people sent me to was a natural gas pumping facility out past Colbert or something, out in the middle of nowhere. And they had hired a construction crew to come in because they needed some pipes extended or something, but there were old ceramic pipes under the ground that they didn't want broken. So they couldn't use a backhoe. They had to have people dig the fucking trench. So I show up at like 5 in the morning. It's freezing. And I said, well, I need to find the foreman. I find him. I said, what do you want me to do? This is what he says. Take this shovel. And that's the first thing you realize, this is not going to be good. He goes, now we're standing here. We need to dig down this deep. And he points up around my eyebrows. And he goes about this wide, broader than I am. I'm going to go from here over to that building over there. Now watch out. Don't chip the ceramic pipes if you come across any in the ground. So anyway, this assignment lasted about a week. And I was working with these two black guys named Eddie and the Reverend. Eddie was the Reverend was an older guy. And Eddie was some guy who, they weren't really friends, but they knew each other. Anyway, the Reverend was such a lazy motherfucker, but he was funny. And we one day we didn't have anything to do, so the three of us stuck our shovels around behind this shed in the shade, and we're leaning on the shovels, right, standing up in a circle talking to each other. And Eddie goes, "He's really a Reverend. He can really do it. Show him, Reverend." And the Reverend extemporized this sermon about, brothers, we know that man is created in the image of God, but God, he just made it up on the spot. It was hilarious.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I'll tell you something else he said. Another day, we're standing around with nothing to do, and he had told the story about his wife cheating on him, and he followed her over to this hotel, and he sat in the parking lot all night and waited for her to come out. And next morning, he saw her come out with her lover, and he said about how heartbroken he was. Oh my God! And he said, "I just don't understand it. I don't understand why I can't get the loyalty of women. I got all my teeth, clothes fit me good, and I got a dick 8 inches long."
Oh my God.
So anyway, what is the last day of the assignment? And we're all leaving for the day, right? And they used to come together in this old fucking Monte Carlo. And anyway, something told me, don't take the same way out of here as they take. But sure enough, I did. I followed them. And they ran out of gas on the side of the road. And I had to stop and give them rides home, even though I was desperate to get home. So anyway, I said, now you guys gonna, oh God, what did he say? Anyway, they borrowed $5 off me for the gas when they go back to get it or something. And I knew I'd never see that $5 again. So months and months later, I was downtown and I saw the Reverend looking very much worse for wear, leaning up against this building. And I said, this is my chance to get my $5 back. So I go up to him and I said, "Hey." He goes, "Hey." And I said, "Do you remember me? We worked at the thing." He's like, "Uh-huh." And I'm about to get the words, "Do you have that $5 you owe me?" He goes, "Listen, buddy, do you have $5 I can borrow?"
Jesus. Did you give him another?
No, I said,
$5?
"No, I don't have anything, but good to see you. I got to go."
Funny you should mention that. I was here to get my $5 from you.
Oh, Lord. That was...
Oh, God.
Anyway, that whole temp agency thing was just a
What was the name of the agency?
BOS, Business Office Solutions. They used to have their billboards up all over Athens. I guess they
Didn't
went out of business.
Angie work there?
I have no idea.
Jimmy's wife?
I have no idea.
Oh.
You know that building on Millage I think it's called the Butler Building? It's just horribly ugly.
Ugly building.
Ugly building with black glass front.
I know.
It's like a morgue in there, and the different.
The neighborhood is
They used to be there, yeah. Anyway, so
By the way,
Yeah.
wasn't there an army recruiter at the mall?
Yes, at one time.
What has happened to the mall? Does the mall exist anymore?
Belk's is still open. It's attached to it, but you can't get to it from the inside of the mall. I don't think there's much left.
Wow.
I think that some of the food court's still open, but that's about it. I haven't been there in years.
Yeah, a very long time. I know they have a police precinct in there somewhere.
They did. I don't know if it's still there. I prefer the way that mall looked on the inside before they renovated it. It used to
don't
have
remember.
it used to have banyan trees in the planters all through the building. That's the first time I ever seen one or heard of one.
Are you sure it was banyan trees?
Yes, I am. I'm positive. I know it was. You know what those are, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning. Something in the fig family. They spread out all
Right.
over, and
Right.
yeah, I was thinking that they were the ones that had those bulbous bottoms.
That's baobab.
That's what I thought they had in there.
And they had all those fountains, what do you call it?
And all the
Decorative
pennies.
fountains.
Remember people threw pennies?
Do you remember?
in the fountain?
Do you remember Dwayne Peterson? He's probably before your time at the school.
Yeah.
He had a fraternal twin named Brian, and I think that was what the thing was. Anyway, a friend of mine and I were at the mall together, hanging around. This is after Dwayne had left ACS. They were sitting on the edge of the fountain, pulling coins, quarters, nickels, dimes out of the water. And they said, we've been doing this for hours. And their pockets were bulging with money. And nobody said anything to them.
Why would they?
I don't know.
I was always told, oh, somebody will come along occasionally and
did.
clean out.
They had a plaque up on the thing that said, all the money will be cleaned out quarterly and given to the Heart Association.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think so. Jesus, that place used to be so much fun. I worked there at Butler Shoes, and
I worked at the Just Pants there.
yeah,
We knew somebody who worked at the Pennies there.
mm-hmm.
And my friend Michael worked at the Macy's there. And Creepy Eric was a security guard at Macy's there too.
Miss Raines worked at Sears during the summer
Oh, jeez.
in the catalog department, mail order department.
That's because her husband was a no good preacher man who
Yeah.
begged for money every Sunday just to keep things going.
Well, that church kicked him out because they suspected him of stealing money.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they split off and started a new church. That's what it was. It was a big
Yeah,
scandal.
but the scandal was he'd been stealing money.
Yeah. So who knows? But who else used to work out there? I knew some, I dated two girls who worked there. Just, one date each. Fiasco on both times. But,
You remember there was a record store up there near the Sears?
when the mall first opened, there were 2 toy stores, 2 bookstores, and 2 record stores.
Where was the other record store?
It was downstairs, getting close to the entrance to JCPenney on the right. It was called, the one upstairs was called Camelot Music, and the one downstairs was,
I have no
I don't
memory
think it was the Record Bar. I can't remember what the hell it was called. That's funny. If you ask me
Weren't
that,
there 2 turtles in town? One in Gaines School and one on Alps?
I'm trying to think. There might have been 3, but yeah, there was 2. One on Alps, where the A&P was back in the 70s, and there was one on the east side.
Yeah, I remember going in there and getting the stamps, the A&P stamps.
Really.
Yeah.
But the one on Alps, the one on the east side on Barnett Shoals was where that Preacher Green's place is now.
Yeah. Kids these days have no idea what it was like to have a mall suddenly deposited in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was like getting a Disneyland kind of thing, because they would always have something like a carousel or some kind of other sort of event, like they had a train for a while. And then you had all these different food places that had the equivalent of like circus food, and then pizza food, and then there was a steakhouse there at one point too.
That's right. There was a Ponderosa or
And
Bonanza, one of the two.
then they would have the cookie place, and the cookie place is one of the longest surviving businesses at that mall.
Yeah, I think it's still there.
Consistently.
They had a Sbarro's, and when it first
and
opened, they had
then
McDonald's.
There was the naughty store. What was that?
Oh,
thing?
Spencer's, yeah.
Spencer's. The
They-
place where they sold anything from dildos and butt plugs to fake dog poo and beer glasses that when you filled them up, the clothes would come off the girl.
Well,
pictures.
and in the back were the posters you could thumb through, and they always had girls with big tits in bikinis, and that's what the young boys would go back there and ogle,
Yeah.
But the funny thing,
Oh, and fuzzy dice. You could get fuzzy
Yeah.
dice.
the thing that creeped me out about that store was the way it smelled. It was like this pussy boudoir harem smell in there. This bizarre.
Mixed in with plastic. That Chinese plastic smell.
They had dirty
incense.
postcards and.
Remember? They
Incense,
had incense
yeah.
for a while.
But you know they had
then
a lot.
They had the black light posters and the black lights. That you could
Yeah, but they
buy.
also had stuff like curios. Like, do you remember that thing? It was imagine a thin, long plexiglass box that you could see through, with a sort of.
A wave machine.
It was a wave machine thing. It had little tiny rocks and made it look like you were seeing halfway under the beach, seeing the water go back and forth.
Ooh, they also had the bird that would dip
That's
into
right,
the
I was about to
water.
mention that
That
too,
was a
yeah.
lot of fun. And they would have all these little trinkets that you could add to your key rings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would be like a mini light or a whistle or a squealing kind of alarm.
Do you remember that thing? It was almost obscene. It was a stress squeeze thing. It was like a little flesh thing, and the blue eyes would pop out.
Pop out. It was weird.
It's funny.
It's like killing an alien creature.
Yeah, it creeped me the fuck out. It was
But
like,
admit it, every time you walked in there, you had to pick up one of the squeeze.
I was scared to do shit like
you
that.
felt the little squeeze things come between your fingers, you know.
What's amazing to me is that you and I have such a similar background.
Well, that's why we ended up together.
Yeah.
And yet we've gone off onto our own little path. Again, together. So many people will get together and they'll have a moment where everything's all hunky-dory, then they diverge and go off separate from whoever they're with. And you and I haven't done that.
Yeah. I think that it's partly coincidence and partly a lot of work, but as we've gotten older, we've grown more similar and more appreciative of a lot of the same things.
There's that. But we also have been amenable to what the other one offers. And we're also willing to try new things. So
Yeah.
that means we've had new shared experiences, new shared taste. I think that means a lot.
Yeah.
But there is one area where you and I cannot agree.
There's several actually, but go ahead.
The one biggie happens once every month. It's like, should we sit down and watch something together? And we can't decide on something. Because
Yeah.
I have no problem with the Big Dumb Summer movie. And you're like, why are you wasting your time on that?
But you know, you and I saw a trailer earlier tonight for some coming of age movie between a little white boy and a black girl, and I thought that's my kind of movie. Just sort of like,
Wait, what?
you don't remember this?
No.
I can't remember who the director was. Oh God, I hope he doesn't get up. I wish to God he would move out. So you and I had this place to ourselves.
We wouldn't have to worry about waking up the kid.
No empty nest syndrome at all. I would take over that end of the house, and you could have that end where the washer and dryer are.
I would only venture into your end to clean your toilet.
But of course,
Part.
I can't. I've taken a shower in that bathroom once, and it was horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't have good pressure in there.
Well, not only that, it's
Don't worry.
Uh,
If we have the house to ourselves, I would have that shower fixed for you, so I'd never have to share my bathroom.
And it would
with
turn
you
black with
ever
mold within
again."
2 years, and it would be never cleaned, and they'll find my rotted body in there. He inhaled the spores over a number of months.
Idiot! You idiot! Oh, well, we could really, yeah, you could. We could redo the bathroom so that you'd have a big shower in there, and you could use the studio that you have now as your bedroom, because I mean, all you do is sleep in there, right? And it's got a big closet, so we can
Well,
use the
Reed's
closet
old room will
space.
become the studio.
Yes, that would be, and then we could take Peter's current bedroom and turn it into your recording studio. Put your music stuff in
I don't know.
there. Yeah, we could.
One of
seal it
those
off
rooms will
and-
become storage eventually for paintings, because I'm running out of room.
And we're gonna have to just do a whole new house for that.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
I
And
don't
and,
either.
and the paintings at the old house are just rotting. I have a morbid phobia about going over there because I don't want to see how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
So if you want a free painting, come over and delve into the
no.
abyss.
Oh, you mean next door?
Yeah, next door. Yeah.
Those paintings are my early work, so they're going to become extremely valuable. You know.
If they're not rotted, my dear.
Oh, that'll be all the more charm. In a world full of
no,
you know, digitally
Black
created
mold is
art, and
never,
the
never
robot
good.
arm can paint much better than the human arm.
God.
Oh, but these have mistakes and they're covered with mold. That's the evidence of a human. This makes them more valuable.
Oh, please.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I've been proven right before many times.
And many times not.
I can't think of a one at the moment.
No, you wouldn't be able to, and I won't mention it out of decency. Because I'm the missus. The loyal wife. We need to call this quits.
Okay, yeah, I got to get back to doing some. Oh my God, Bonnie's stomach just gurgled like a
Yeah.
orca breaching the surface of the waves.
Oh, no.
I just swallowed a seal.
Oh, God.
Oh Jesus! Oh God! Now I got to pick out another piece of artwork for part 1 and part 2.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Say goodnight, Lance.
Good night, Lance.
Good night, Lance.
Okay. I'll see you later.